Was fame at a young age worth it? Let's talk about it. Hi guys, welcome to the channel. If you like hearing stories from the 90s, subscribe. Let's get into it. So Kriss Kross, also known as Chris Smith and Chris Kelly, were discovered in a mall in Atlanta by Jermaine Dupri. Before he had ever heard them sing, rap, dance, or even open their mouths, he had already decided that they were stars. He saw them at the Greenbrier Mall in Atlanta, getting some free cookie samples. He said they were the epitome of swag, and he said he hasn't seen anything like it since. It was girls at the cookie company giving them free cookies. They were like the word swag before it was even being used. Their mentality was, I don't know what they were on, just to be that young. I never saw nobody that was that focused on being cool. So Jermaine went up to Chris Kelly's mother and gave her a business card and introduced himself. On a WeTV documentary, she said, "Yeah, my name is Jermaine Dupri and I'm looking for an act." He came out and followed us and he gave me a card and he said, "I want your number." And I'm like, who is this little kid? So at the time, the boys were only about 11 or 12 and Jermaine was only 19 himself. So that's why she just saw this kid coming up to her and wondering who he was. They had no idea how to rap. It was Jermaine who taught them everything. He taught them how to rap, he taught them how to perform, he introduced them to hip-hop culture essentially, and he wrote and produced all of their music. The first song that Jermaine was known for doing for the boys was Jump, which sampled Michael Jackson's I Want You Back. All the young acts of the 80s and 90s emulated the Jackson 5, in particular Michael. New Edition modelled themselves on the Jackson 5, their name was even inspired by the group, and Ralph, the lead singer, basically modelled his voice after Michael's and basically sounded exactly like him. When I started messing with the Jackson 5 sample, I took the bass line and I just repeated boom, boom, boom. And then I took a piece of this funky worm. I put that on top of it. Jump peaked at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It spent 8 weeks at the top spot and 21 weeks in the charts in total. The song opens with the line, "Don't try to compare us with another bad little fad." They were already writing diss tracks against other groups, throwing shade at another bad creation, another young act. They were around for a couple of years in the early 90s. They were discovered by Michael Bivins. Their first album did well, but their second album flopped. Kriss Kross also threw shade at Tony Tone and Belle Biv DeVoe, basically artists who had paved the way for them. But it was Jermaine's fault because he wrote the song. So at just 12 and 13 years of age, the boys had a quadruple platinum selling album. They were the youngest hip hop group at the time, and their album, Totally Crossed Out, sold 4 million copies, and it was solely produced by Jermaine Dupri. And in 1992, they were the fastest selling new artists in over 20 years. They made appearances on the Arsenio Hall Show, Today, Good Morning America, and in Living Colour. While many of us were huge fans of Michael Jackson, Kriss Kross got to go on tour with him and also appear in his music video for his single, Jam. They went on a European tour with Michael, getting to travel the world at such a young age and opening for one of the biggest icons in music. He's cool, just like a normal person. People say he's weird, but he was not weird to us. We talked, mostly about his sister's hairstyle. So being so young, Kriss Kross weren't your typical rappers. They did rap about kids stuff, such as going to school, missing the bus, and, that kind of thing. But they also did rap about topics that were inappropriate, such as drive-by shootings and things like that. Obviously, not the best. Their road manager, Bobby, said that all sorts of people would come up to them and ask for their autograph, from young kids of different races to older white people. He said girls would cry and shake at their concerts and they would get mobbed at the mall. They outsold Bruce Springsteen and Garth Brooks, if that means anything to you. So they did rap with a mixture of pop, and that appeared to be the winning formula. Their careers really took off and they got to travel the world, including a tour of Asia. Jermaine knew how to spot talent, and that's why he became such a successful music mogul. Their success was also attributed to their attitude and swag. Both Krisses grew up in Atlanta. Chris Kelly was born in 1978 and Smith the following year. They were friends since first grade. Both of them actually had stable home lives. They both grew up middle class and went to a private prep school, a far cry from some of the hip-hop themes of their music. They attended the Woolwood Academy, which is an expensive school. I don't know what the fees were back then, but if you look it up now, they go up to about $31,000. So Jermaine said that he actually wanted to get into football when he was in school, and he swears he was pretty good, even though he doesn't necessarily look like a footballer. But he ended up getting into music because of his father, who's also a music executive. And he got a taste for the stage when he attended a Diana Ross concert. He ended up dancing on stage with a bunch of other kids, and apparently he almost stole the show. Jermaine produced his first album at just 15, and he made his own mixtape, releasing it under the name So Def. He got Kriss Kross signed to Rough House, which is a subsidiary of Columbia Records, which also signed Michael Jackson, so that's how they connected with him. Columbia was so impressed with Jermaine and his ability to spot new talent that they helped him start his own label and agreed to distribute for him. In 1993, So Def recordings were established, combining Southern hip-hop with R&B. Inspired by Motown and Def Jam, Jermaine pioneered a music powerhouse. His success was attributed to his innate business sense, his ability to spot new talent, and having an ear for hits. And he was a respected producer. His work with Kriss Kross was attributed to this. One publication said, Dupri's work on behalf of Kriss Kross set the tone for his career and demonstrated the powerful effect that a hip-hop group could have on the mainstream music industry. He started writing hits for TLC, and he said that he's the one who inspired T-Boz to sing in the style that she sings in. He was very close with Lisa Left Eye, and they lived together at one point. Not in that way though. Jermaine went on to sign artists such as Escape, Bow Wow, Jagged Edge, and Da Brat. Escape were the first of his artists to achieve platinum success. Obviously Kriss Kross did, but they were technically with Rough House. So Chris Mac Daddy Kelly and Chris Daddy Mac Smith had no intention of becoming rappers. But Jermaine really believed he could turn them into stars. Image was everything. And one of the things he encouraged them to do was wear their clothes backwards. This was in an effort to make them stand out, and it proved successful because fans loved it. Jermaine understood the importance of artists having their own unique style. He said Lisa Left Eye actually encouraged this and would challenge him to do the same. So naturally with hip hop comes controversy, especially when the artists are so young. Now Kriss Kross would rap about anything from going to grammar school to drive-by shootings or being killed for wearing the wrong colours. As you can imagine, this created a lot of controversy, especially as they had a young fan base. One critic said, quote, "The song Little Boys in the Hood sounds like something straight off a track of Boys in the Hood. It's cute, but when boys 10 and 12 years old are talking about gang violence and shootings, it makes you wonder where the innocence has gone. The only kiddish song on the album was I Missed the Bus. It was good for an attempt at regaining the youth that some of the other songs lacked, but the song has no substance or point. It's just plain annoying."
Half our schoolmates are still our friends, then other half our schoolmates are jealous.
In '93, they released their follow-up album, The Bomb, which also went platinum. The album featured Da Brat, who had won a rap contest in '92. The prize of the contest was to meet Kriss Kross. They met, and the boys decided to introduce Da Brat to Jermaine. When Jermaine met her, he decided to sign her to So Def. So their third and final album, Young, Rich and Dangerous, went gold, which isn't bad, but it was disappointing compared to the sales of their previous albums. So with the third album coming out in '96, their career in the music industry basically lasted 5 or 6 years, which is about right for a young act. That's basically typical. But obviously it's disappointing to find yourself on the way out before you've even reached the age of 18 in terms of being in the music industry. If you compare the way they look on their third album to the first album, they look like grown men, but they were still only 16 and 17 at the time. And obviously, certain young acts lose their appeal as they get older, unfortunately. That's just the way it works in the industry, especially when you start out at a very young age, and being cute, I guess, is part of your appeal. But these two are very smart guys, and they actually went on to college. Kriss went on to study, well, they're both called Kriss. Kriss Kelly went on to study engineering and established his own company called C Connection. And Kriss Smith went on to study marketing and business management. He too has owned various companies, including One Life Entertainment, and now he owns one called Urban Muse. Both their names was Kriss, so their name makes sense. But the cross in Kriss Kross actually came from a nickname of Kriss Kelly's. So his parents said that he loved applesauce when he was little, and a teacher used to call him Krissy Krossy Applesaucy. So that's where the cross part came from. As for Mac Daddy or Daddy Mac, that was quite a popular word at the time. Another word of describing, a player or whatever. So Kriss Kelly said, I'm going to read it. It's in very juvenile language. It was just something boys used in school and stuff. Whoever gets a lot of girls and stuff called Max. So they disbanded after the third album and slightly disappointing album sales. So more than likely they got dropped by the record company, which is pretty typical, even after just one disappointing album. So they went from the highs of their early success to the lows of disappointing album sales and no longer being the hottest new thing. The third album in particular brought them a lot of criticism. Although they were older, they were still very much minors and had a young fan base, and they were singing about themes of a adult nature. One publication said, flashback to 1991, two cute boys aged 12 and 13 call themselves Kriss Kross, wear their jeans backward, and appear on just about all of the teen magazine covers. They perform their rap mega hit, Jump, on mainstream talk shows such as Good Morning America. But that was then, and this is now. Gone are the squeaky, pubescent voices we heard on the first two albums. Also gone are the cute kiddie raps and backward clothes that made them famous. On their new album, Young, Rich and Dangerous, Kriss Kelly, now 17, and Kriss Smith, 16, are rapping about mature themes, wealth, work, and especially women. And one critic pointed out that teenagers may like the album, but that it's a nightmare for parents with teenagers. And one positive review said that the album was an excellent party album, despite the switch from innocent songs like Jump Jump to more mature themes, such as the song Hey Sexy. So as with many stars of the 90s, they had to go through the transition of being at the top to being closer to the bottom, either financially or career-wise. That's hard enough for adults in their 30s, even harder for teenagers. Kriss Kross did perform together from time to time throughout the years, but their final performance was at the 20th anniversary concert for So So Def. Their performance was met with a lot of praise from fans. They went from unsuspecting rappers to clearly being naturals on the stage, and they loved performing together. And there was a lot of hype about the reunion, as there always is when stars from the 90s get back together and perform again. And they didn't disappoint. But just 3 months after this highly anticipated reunion performance, tragic news was received that sent shockwaves throughout the industry. Kriss Kelly was found unresponsive on the afternoon of May the 1st, 2013. He was rushed to the Atlanta Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead soon after. And at the time, police suspected a drug overdose, and an autopsy confirmed that to be the case. The Fulton County medical examiner said that Kriss Kelly passed away from a drug overdose, mainly of heroin and cocaine, but also ethanol, hydrocodone, and aprazolum. After Kriss was taken to the hospital, a female friend told investigators that he had indeed taken heroin and cocaine the night before. A sad ending for who once was a young boy who seemingly received an opportunity of a lifetime. It makes you wonder if the fame was worth it, especially at such a young age. But the two Krisses were very smart young men who had other options, were able to go to college, which you don't hear about with young stars in the music industry too often. At the time of his death, Kriss's family issued a statement saying the following: "It is with deep sadness that we announce that our beloved Kriss Kelly has passed away on May 1st. To millions of fans worldwide, he was the trend-setting, backwards pants-wearing one half of Kriss Kross, who loved making music. But to us, he was just Kriss, the kind, generous and fun-loving life of the party. Though he was only with us a short time, we feel blessed to have been able to share some incredible moments with him. His legacy will live on through his music, and we will forever love him." Other celebrities such as LL Cool J and Nicki Minaj also paid tribute to Kriss Kelly. And the other Kriss Smith, took the loss of his friend very hard. He said the following: "Kriss Kelly was my best friend. He was like a brother. I love him and will miss him dearly. Our friendship began as little boys in first grade. We grew up together. It was a blessing to achieve the success, travel the world, and entertain Kriss Kross fans all around the world with my best friend. It is what we wanted to do and what brought us happiness. I will always cherish the memories of the C connection."
So like right before we go on, right, I'm on the right side, Kriss on the left. And it's like seconds before, we're supposed to come on time, right? But Kriss runs over to my side. And he said, "Stay focused." So I'm like, "What you doing, man? The curtain's about to come up."
And Kriss Kelly's mother did confirm that he had struggled with drugs throughout the years and had actually had some near misses in the past. She said every day is a struggle. As for Kriss Smith, he said that they had looked out for one another throughout the years. He said Kelly was a true friend who often checked in on him to make sure he was okay. They remained close to the end. He seems to be doing very well today. He has his own lifestyle company called Urban Muse, and he is an artist in more ways than one. He sketches lifelike portraits and various other images. He produces short films and publishes journals, and also has a clothing line and eyewear. And he keeps a very low profile. He seems to be very much into music still, but more so privately. It's not as if he's trying to break into the industry again or perform. He doesn't seem to be into celebrity culture either. Even on his Instagram, he barely follows any celebrities. So it's great to see that despite being a child star and having that taken away from him in a way, he never succumbed to the same issues that other child celebrities have had to face. And sadly, his friend Kriss ended up facing. Do you think fame at a young age caused Kriss Kelly's ultimate demise? Or do you think that, it was an opportunity of a lifetime and they had fun while it lasted? Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts below. I read the comments. Like and subscribe for weekly videos. And don't forget to click the bell for more.